Start off with the Cowboys today. Uh, Cowboys are an interesting team. I think the best way for me to put what I think of the Cowboys is they have really built up a long term goodness. It's hard for me to say that the Cowboys aren't going to be competitive going forward, and they're not just going to continue to be a very, very competitive football team and I think they're a fringe playoff team every year going forward. They got a really young team. It's a good team. But it's hard for me to go that extra step and say that they're really set up for greatness. Now there are some teams that I can kind of go forward and be like, oh, they're heading towards greatness. They're doing this. They're doing that. I can't comfortably say it about the Cowboys, but I do think they're going to be good and they're going to be fun. But let's just go a little more into detail there. Let's start off with Dak Prescott. I think the biggest thing concerning Dak, as we all know, is that contract, whatever he's going to get, how it's going to go. And if I'm running the Cowboys, I'm paying Dak Prescott because finding an above average QB in the NFL isn't an easy thing to do. We've seen people draft high and miss constantly. We've seen Blake Bortles hit stardom and kind of drop down. We've seen Jared Goff, who every year I have no idea what to think of Jared Goff. It's it's so hot and cold with him. Um, and then you got guys like Kirk Cousins that are probably gonna be right average every year. Maybe I mean last year he had a great year, but when you watch the plays he's actually making, is it that great, or does he have the supporting cast around him? And I think that's one of the things you can't knock Prescott for, but he's really got a really good supporting cast around him. You look at Ezekiel Elliott, look at Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper. That offensive line isn't what it used to be, but it's still not a bad offensive line. He had Jason Witten for a while, who's just a really solid tight end target, or was for a while, and now you got CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott has had options, and when he didn't have options, they got him options in Amari Cooper. But I think you can't take anything away from him because of that. I think it makes it really interesting on how they value him. But Dak's not losing you. He's not losing you games. He's not. He's not going out there. He's not making the bad decisions, and he's not losing games. Now, would I ever put Dak in elite? No, no. Dak's not an elite quarterback. Dak doesn't do that without help. I but he has the help, and that's just how it is. He has the help right now. He has Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and now CeeDee Lamb to throw to. If I'm Dak Prescott, I want money now because my numbers are about to shoot up to a lot bigger than what they've been. And I don't always like stats as the biggest proponent to how much a player should get paid or anything like that. But I think the who would the Cowboys rather have running their offense? Obviously, everybody wants Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. But when you look at the players that are above average, why would you not keep Dak around? He obviously has something special with Amari Cooper, the way those two play off each other. You got Amari Cooper basically for Dak. You have Michael Gallup, one of my favorite up-and-coming wide receivers in the NFL. And now at 17, you take CeeDee Lamb. You don't do that and then get rid of the quarterback that's throwing to them. So anything but that long-term deal just seems far-fetched to me. Because I do think Dak on any team plays at above average level. But I think on the Cowboys, he's gonna do it. And he's gonna continue to do it. And they're gonna continue to surround him because that's what the Cowboys do. They surround their quarterback with some nice talent. And it's gonna, hopefully it'll pay off for him one day. I love rivalries as far as NFL teams go, but I want teams to be competitive because that's what makes football fun. I don't want a team to be like it's not fun when a team's bad. Who's that fun for? Nobody wants to go into a week with an easy win for their team. You want to watch a shootout. You want to watch maybe a defensive, whatever you want to watch. Watching bad teams it's not fun for anybody because it doesn't give your players a good read. It just makes them look bad. But if the Cowboys want to stay good, they got to keep Dak. I don't know that there's not many sure things in life, and drafting a quarterback is far from one of them. So get Dak, get that money. because I think he's a staple of your offense. And I think if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm really excited about what Dak's going to do going forward. Now you kind of look at the rest of the offense. We're looking at Ezekiel Elliott. My only problem with Ezekiel Elliott is that they gave him a big contract. I think it's hard to argue that he's not one of the best in the NFL. He's not this, he is a great playmaker. He's one of the best running backs we've seen. And that's all true. But paying your running backs pretty rarely works out when you're still far from a Super Bowl. And the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are a good team, but they are still far from a Super Bowl. And you look at the Rams, didn't work out for them. You look at the Chargers, did the smart thing, didn't pay. I think Melvin Gordon took less money in the Broncos, and I think that worked out for the Broncos and Melvin Gordon both very well. And the Jets paying Le'Veon Bell, they didn't have the offensive line, but how can they afford one when they pay out Le'Veon Bell the way that they did? David Johnson is another great example. Pay him out, and running backs, just the consistency is hard to depend on every single year. So I like the fact that I like what Zeke's done for the team, but I don't think I'd re-sign him. I think I would rather put that money towards an offensive line and then let lesser running backs do just as much as Zeke will under an average line. So I love Zeke as a player. I think if Ezekiel Elliott was on a team like the Chiefs, who maybe need a little help at running back, obviously they just won the Super Bowl, so they don't need that much help. He can do big things, but when you're at the point that the Cowboys are, I just have a hard time signing a running back to a long-term deal. Give him a lot of money for 2 or 3 years. 5, 6, no. They're just not sturdy enough. And people are hitting harder in the NFL, and it's just how it is. But I think you can offer Ezekiel enough money to make 2 years worth it. I think that's smart. But the way they did it, I don't like it, and I don't think it really sets them up well in the future. But now looking out the pass catching options for Dak Prescott, it doesn't get a lot better than what he's got going for him. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. The potential in that group is so high. Their offense is going to be explosive for years to come. It just is. And I love it. I love what they've done. I would be very, very happy with my offense as a Cowboys fan. And hopefully looking for them to shore up that offensive line a little bit more because it's fallen from what it used to be. But it's rotational, and people get old, they retire. They don't play as well as they used to. But I will say I really like what they've done with the offense. And if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'd give into the hype like they do. They're not a Super Bowl team. I'll give them 9 wins. It's a 9 to 10. That's a low 9, high side 11 win team. Who win healthy is dangerous. Now the only reason I could see them dropping to right at 500 is because of the defense. Nothing is special about Leighton Vander Esch is special about the Cowboys defense, and that's it right now, unfortunately. I didn't like him losing Byron Jones. Maybe they just didn't. I mean, when you pay Dak and Zeke the way you do, you don't have that money. The defense is going to make a lot of their games just into these big, high-scoring games, 35-32 or 35-31 wins, whatever it ends up being, where the defense is just going to let them down in the fourth quarter. I mean, I don't know that if it's a shootout and you get to the fourth quarter, they're not beating most of the teams with above-average offenses. They're not beating the Vikings, the Packers, the Titans. I mean, even the Jets would give them a run for their money if that offensive line shores up a little bit. It's just hard for me to put the Cowboys at a deep playoff team with the defense they have. Now, if they can afford their offense and continue to afford it and hit on some late-round defensive guys, that's scary. That's a really scary team to me. But it's all to be to be determined. And as they sit, I think it's pretty realistic to see 9 wins out of them. And I think if they play better than I expect them to, you could see 12. It would be a really good year if they got 12 wins. But I do see them continuing to compete for the number one spot in their division, and they're always going to be in playoffs talks for the next 5 years. It's hard for me to really see them dropping that to where they're not talked about being in playoffs. Now, the only thing I really didn't like about the Cowboys this offseason was Mike McCarthy. And I just don't think it's ever the right decision to sign a guy off his couch when it comes to coaching. Because Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. Great. He did a good job while he was there in Green Bay. But a lot of Packers fans say that Super Bowl is Rodgers, not McCarthy's. And he won it in spite of him and not with him. Now, that might be embellished a little bit, especially because he's gone and they got LaFleur, who's doing a good job. But I like it when people sign coaches that complement their team and don't just kind of stack to where they're already good. Because you already got the offense, and then you get offensive-minded head coach. I don't love it. Don Martindale would have been my favorite pick if I'm the Cowboys. Don Martindale takes a young defense and brings them to above average, in my mind. That's what Don Martindale can do because he knows how to use people. Like, when you look at Earl Thomas right now, he's not as quick as he used to be. He's not even close to as good as he used to be. He's just not. But you kind of think he is because of the way that Don Martindale uses him and allows the rest of the defense to work so well together. Well, yeah, anybody's going to thrive the way that he runs things. I think he does a phenomenal job, and he was looking for a head coaching job. And instead of giving somebody a promotion, they took Mike McCarthy off the couch. I don't like it. His name's slipping me right now, but the Giants, their last offensive line coach, was somebody that they signed off the couch, as I like to say. He did bad. And it's a line coach to head coach comparison, so maybe it's not fair. But when you sit for a year, when you get fired and another team doesn't want you as a coach, I don't like it. I just don't like it as a coaching choice. I think they could have went a little riskier, because they need a little push. Matt Rule would have been interesting for them. I don't think they really went after him that hard. Matt Rule was pretty set with the Panthers after the $60 million or whatever it was offer. But I really think Don Martindale would have been such a better pick than Mike McCarthy to coach this team. Because with the weapons you have on offense, do you really need another offensive-minded head coach? Or do you need somebody to come in and shore up that defense and just let that offense rip? I think that's the better choice. But, who knows? Maybe Don Martindale will never get a job and we'll never know, and McCarthy will win 2 Super Bowls with the Cowboys, and I'll be pissed about this take. But for right now, my take is that was the wrong choice, especially with Don Martindale sitting there just ready to go. So Cowboys, you got some good stuff in the offense. Love it. Not a fan of the defense or any of the coaching right now. It's to be seen. If I'm not saying McCarthy's going to go in and do a bad job. I'm saying I like complementary teams who is best at coaching your worst point, because you don't have to be that great at coaching your best players, because they're your best players and they do a good job. You can't sleep on them. You have to have that offensive coordinator there, and you have to do it the right way. But complementary football is what gets you there. And if you could have had a coach come in and turn around that defense, I think the Cowboys, I think I could comfortably put them above 10 wins.